The Wellness Show, episode 104. And by the way, watch right to the end. We have a special offer for everyone.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. So welcome to the Wellness Show, and we have a return visit with David Cowan and his lovely wife, Erina, who work as a couple and do lots of incredible work. I've been fortunate enough to have one course with them. I think it's called Soulful Communication. Is that the correct?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have
that particular program, it morphed into what did we call it?
A course in relationship.
Course in relationship, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a great pleasure to do that. So, what's coming up for both of you guys? What do you think we have in store for this year? What's getting you excited and inspired? What sort of hot tips do you have?
What kind of hot tips? We'll try and figure out some hot tips.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I do think the fact that it's a 1 year is very inspirational and really exciting. We have really come through a whopper of a 2016, which was a 9, a year of completion. And I must say that looking at the global picture as well as family members, clients, and everything, that really was obvious that people were bringing completion to scripts that we've likely played out together for eons. And so what it seems to me is so obvious is that the real rooter work, well, it's a company down here, by the way, it's, digging deep and getting all the gook out.
Mm-hmm.
So that real rooter work, I think, has primarily been done. Obviously, it's still going on the planet. That's obvious to see. But there's a foundation that's already gelling. It's already, you can feel it. It's palpable. We're creating something new together. There are foundations, there are organizations, there's so many spiritual leaders and so much spiritual awakening that's obvious on this planet right now. I think this year is about bringing things into fruition, a new reality. We're creating it together. So it's like when you're putting a new house up and there's an old one, the demolition team comes in and that's a lot of chaos and it looks crazy. And in fact, when we went to Canada last summer, we happened to drive by the property where David grew up as a young child, and we had heard that they took the old house down. Well, it was so fascinating because that whole trip we drove up, we were gone for 3 weeks up in Canada. It was wonderful. Saw the family. It was so obvious that we were creating something new with family members. There was all this new energy going on. And then we drive past the old house and they were in the process of building a new foundation.
Wow.
And I thought how beautifully symbolic that is. And that's what this year feels like to me. So I think it's about stepping up to the plate individually, tapping into your unique gifts and joy and bringing a little playfulness back in. Mm-hmm. And seeing what we can create together.
So much of our understanding of what learning and growing really is has been reversed over the years. It's not like we're trying to attain something we're not already or learn something new. The process seems to be more one of unlearning, as it was in the Soulful Communication course. It was really about unlearning old habits of communication and letting something more natural emerge. And this has been a year of unlearning in that so much has been revealed. The true meaning of apocalypse is the great revealing. And, part of that obviously has to do with the internet and our communications systems linking us up on the planet on an unprecedented level. But we're seeing clearly what is not working. There's been a huge collective no from the world population. We will not tolerate this. We will not choose this again. We will not put power into this energy that has suppressed and oppressed us for eons. And it's in that saying no that there's the denial of what no longer works for us. And what does work for us, we can't yet conceive of because we're in a new energy. But we have to, like you just said, we have to experience the deconstruction. We have to recognize what's not working before we can embrace something new. So I think it's really amazing that, with geopolitical events in this last year, how much has come to the surface, how much is being observed, how much is being recognized as completely dysfunctional and against all of the forces of life that need to express through us. Where that's going to take us, we don't know yet. It hasn't formed. It's not solid, but we got a pretty solid idea of what we don't want.
Yeah, that's for sure. And one of the things in the turning of the ages, and even in 2012, was, as Ian Lungold said, it's the time that the truth will be revealed. And boy, the end of the 2016 and the election, and the truth was certainly revealed. It was like somebody whipped the curtain back and said, all right, here's the machinery. Take a good look at really what's happening behind the curtain and who's the wizards or that are pulling the levers. But as the old order changeth, yielding place to new, and I'm sure every generation feels that they're in the midst of some major transformation. I don't think we've ever had one that's so planetary wide as the one that we're experiencing now. And what I liked, what was said was, Erina, was and using the symbology of the house as that foundation. What do we want to put on our foundation? What do we want to build in this new year? What do we want to create in this cycle? What are we allowing to be on our foundation, and what will we disallow to be on our foundation? Really is maybe one of the key ways that we can decide what's important to us as individuals and collectively as we move forward.
Absolutely, well stated. And it is important that we have had an opportunity with this, finishing of 2016 to see so much absolute insanity and craziness come to surface, let's face it, and to be able to get to a point where so many, like you're saying, it's a global thing. There, within this last 2 years, Arab Spring started heating things up globally. The people in Egypt weren't going to take it anymore, and it's been one country after another, and then this country just went bonkers this past year. And it's about bringing up the ugliness that we've been pretending wasn't there because we still wanted to be asleep. It's such a sign of awakening when people are bringing up stuff like this. In fact, the insanity to me, watching even the whole thing go down, I must say not many people were comfortable with what has been going on geopolitically and particularly in the US with this election thing. And in fact, I don't know anybody that's been comfortable with it, but it was so interesting to me because I just was fascinated, and I see it as proof in the pudding that we are in the midst of this major breakthrough into a new level of consciousness. You can see by the level of chaos that is going on, the degree of shift that's going on. And there was such a stirring up of chaos and emotions and anger, and everybody stepping up with an opinion and people fighting with each other that on a global level, not just here, but globally about so many things, that it's like a crescendo. The end of this 2016, we've been reaching a planetary crescendo of chaos, which gives us enough energy to make this shift to a higher state.
Yeah, that's nicely stated on your part too. So from system theories, that perturbation or that system that no longer works, right? Or in Kuhn, evolution, scientific revolution, talks about, there's two ways it can go. You have either second order change and transformation, which is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, where it reconfigures in a brand new way that we can't even imagine, that our brains can't even conceive of it, because it is so beyond even our five senses can assimilate. Or we have absolute utter chaos and everything breaks down. And in that sort of null point between the two potentialities as they coexist, it really does look in some instances like we won't make it. But I think what you're really saying is that we have made it. You have the feeling that we are creating a new foundation and that the second order transformation is about to emerge. So from your perspective and what interests you, what are some of the indications, or what do you think might show up on the foundation, or what can we maybe start working towards individually and collectively as we move into this year one?
Well, we've left this earth bleeding and wounded from eons of abuse, warfare, decimation of the oceans and the forests. I think that's where the beginning has to be. We have to heal what is salvageable of this world. And I'm not saying it's up to humanity alone to do this. There are many cosmic forces and many beings of light now coming to assist us in this process. But until the water's safe to drink, until there's food for everybody, which is well within Earth to support and produce, until there's freedom from war and oppression and the fear of being of your family being torn apart, until that's settled, we really can't realistically imagine where to go from there. It really comes down to the basics of what we need to thrive and survive on the planet as a unified species. So once we get those logistics sorted out, and I don't think it'll take very long, we have the motivation, we have the ingenuity, and my understanding is that 2017, and this is from others' predictions, of course, is that there will also be a huge release of technologies to assist in this healing of the planet. The technologies already exist to, for example, clean the radiation from the ocean, to clean the atmosphere, etc. They've just been suppressed. And what really excites me is some of the new information coming out from Antarctica, and the probability or the possibility of many ET technologies that have been sequestered down there for eons actually being released. I actually heard a report, a prediction of healing chambers that already exist in these hidden civilizations, you might say, that have never been replicated, have never been let loose on the planet, and that these technologies are coming forth now, primarily because the forces or beings who have suppressed these technologies, again, are on the descent. The forces that want to keep us chained to petrochemicals, for example, to pharmaceuticals, and all of these profit-motivated systems now have no basis and are no longer supported. The economic system that used to support exclusively these status quo industries and energy systems is now dissolving before our eyes. I mean, we're seeing the end of the U.S. and the European fiat currencies. These are currencies that are just based on faith alone. Well, the people have lost faith in the system, and they certainly don't have any more faith in the currencies. So these are the kind of fundamental changes that we could never have foreseen coming. And I do remember hearing years ago that the transition on planet Earth, as a result of the configuration of cycles that we're in now, cosmological cycles and time cycles, in the past, many of these cycles represented in dramatic earth changes, upheavals of continents and flooding and massive things like that. Well, the potential for that existed in this current configuration of cycles, but because we are now willing and capable of changing on the fourth dimension or the mental plane, changing our thoughts, changing our perceptions, because we're now receiving those transformative energies on the level of the collective mind, Earth does no longer have, in the 3D, no longer has to bear the burden of these stresses. We're really talking about the manifest world as a projection of mind. And if we don't change our minds about things, it's almost like we're relegating that transition to the lower dimensions, the lower densities. But because we are now thinking, believing, desiring, and wishing together on the mind level, we've taken the heat, we've taken the pressure off Mother Earth. And yes, there are earth changes, obviously, but not of the dramatic nature that people, for example, Edgar Cayce might have predicted back in the 1930s. I mean, he anticipated that if California was going to fall off the continent into the ocean. We're not seeing stress and change on that level to that degree because we're absorbing it on the level of mind, and we're allowing these energies to change us on that level. So in a way, we are our own saviors by our willingness to look within and receive those changes within. So Mother Earth doesn't have to bear that brunt.
Yeah, I like that. I like that whole idea that, you know, we're in a collective journey together. We're on the ark called Planet Earth, and you know that it has turned turtle before in the Turtle Island legend. You know, it sank beneath the sea. It could happen again, but you know, we're all Earth stewards on the back of this turtle and doing the job of you know, nurturing and taking care of her because we're all intertwined. So that makes perfect sense to me. And as we collectively rise in energy and in consciousness, then the Earth doesn't have to go through the transformation in the way that it has before. Continents don't need to rise and fall. But what about on the individual level? What about, you know, in the evolution of consciousness, like Buck talked about, you know, that there's, you know, his whole thing was in the evolution of consciousness, there's always those forerunners like Sri Aurobindo or, you know, other leading lights that were working on that mind that you're talking about, that individual and collective mind, to hold that stability for us to make this transformation, that's change within ourselves and also collectively. So from that perspective, what are you seeing on the individual level and in your own group? What about the coming together of community or holding that new focus to allow that to be built on our foundation that we talked about? Some thoughts on that?
Well, we are seeing that come into play as well. People are starting to join. We have been experiencing it personally. People that we have been aligned with in the past 4 or 5 years ago in different areas of energy medicine are coming forward, and we're jumping into a new experience with them, helping bring different things forward. And I'm seeing that and hearing that both on a personal level from clients and friends, as well as seeing it happen in, you know, the global picture, people really coming together. And actually, it's adversity that seems to bring humans together with a collective purpose. And so perhaps that is why we brought ourselves to this, what I called a crescendo. We're involved in the Course in Miracles, and in A Course in Miracles, it states that when a dream becomes too uncomfortable, the dreamer has a reason to wake up, has motivation to wake up. And that's certainly what we've created here, is motivation to wake up. So personally, I find that people are seeming to bring together, what I'm noticing is an integration, all the different things that people have been cultivating within themselves through experience, through education, you know, through learning new things and bringing science and metaphysics together and in so many different areas. It's a time to bring the gifts together to see what is it with everything I've been cultivating in this lifetime. What brings me joy right now? What do I want to share? And how can I bring it together? We're at a higher level of consciousness. So we're taking all of these facets of our lives and our experiences and bringing them into a higher playing field where we can share them in collaboration with each other and helping out to make the kind of changes that David was just talking about.
You know, our beloved mentor Eckhart Tolle talked about the saints and the teachers of the past and described them in terms of the early flowerings of humanity. They were the examples throughout history of what's possible in the human experience, and still today serve us in that capacity. But they were like the few sprinters out in front of the pack that crossed the line early and are waiting on the other side now with their lemonade to give us and to reward us when we all make that same journey. But it is no longer a matter of specialness. All of the true saints and the true humble beings of light never claimed to be special. They always claimed to be simply one of us whose timeline brought them to that point before the majority. But now in that image of Eckhart's, he said, now the whole field is getting ready to go into bloom. And so those who came before, they left us with certain tools, techniques, cognitive tools, understandings and approaches, but not to imprison us in their experience, but for us to take for our own inner growth and for our own purposes, our own inner guidance. So I really do see a falling away of that dependency on outside saviors and beings to do it for us, rather recognizing that they left examples for us to freely choose whether we want to follow this technique or follow that teaching and see how it works for us. Again, we're breaking away from that linearity of what awakening truly is. It is an inner experience. And the paradox is that it's really us waking up to the oneness, right? That there's only one of us here, and we are different expressions of the same being, but at the same time maintaining an individual experience of that. So, I think one of the big threats to the idea of oneness is obviously to the ego, because the ego is the belief that we're separate and unique and special. But we can have both. We can have the experience of oneness. We can have that universal awakening from within, and it can be our own experience. And I don't think that's going to change. I think we're simply going to go beyond the need to separate the two ideas.
Yeah, I like that. Again, I'm saying a lot of I like that, but I guess that's the theme of I like that. Yeah, the awakening. I like that idea of awakening. Sri Aurobindo, who I have to mention, said, America's the sleeping giant. And here we have America truly waking up to her destiny. I mean, her true destiny, which was even greater than what her founding fathers imagined, and maybe even greater than Saint Germain even imagined. But you're right. On the one level, I don't think we even have time to do one more meditation technique or one more way to sit and experience samadhi. That really, it's all in this moment, like you say, awakening to the dream that, as we manifest with our thoughts, and we do it, we're brilliant manifestors. So really the choice is, what do we want to manifest individually and collectively? What are we going to allow on that foundation? What is acceptable and what isn't? And that's a choice in every moment. And as you are so aptly put, this is a leaderless, non-guru undertaking where we're responsible for showing up as our own masters, or in our own divinity, as the God I am, or the gods we are, or the oneness of who we are. So how do you do that? How do you remember that in the struggle of the daily existence? I know one way you do that is you go play your guitar or make music, because that gets you back in the flow. I know that's one way that you do it. How do you stop to remember that you are not separate and bound by your ego, but that you can at any moment step back into that infinite knowingness and be part of it?
Well, I've always said to all of our clients, you need to find a practice that brings you to a place of silence. And the reason it's called a practice is it's never accomplished doing it one time. It's like learning to play the piano. You just don't sit down and play Mozart. You have to work at it day after day. So I still think that's relevant. We need, and I know for ourselves, we need that time, which we are blessed to have a lifestyle and the opportunity to do that. Each morning we devote time to contemplation, to prayer, to meditation, to reading. And for us, it's course-related material. And one of the reasons the course-related material works so well for myself is it speaks of non-duality. It speaks of the collapse of the need to understand on a human level in order to receive what is truly available to us in each and every moment. And I guess it's unique in the sense that it also represents the joining of not only the hemispheres of the brain, the linear left brain and the intuitive right brain, but on a global sense, we understand that, the Western world is like the left hemisphere of the brain. It's very logical, it's very yang, it's very outcome focused and very linear. Whereas, and I'm speaking in generalities, of course, and the Eastern hemisphere of the planet is more like the right hemisphere of the brain. It's more collective, it's more about yin energies, not so much into the technology, so to speak. But what we're seeing now in the planet is a holographic expansion of this idea that to become whole-minded, we need to integrate both hemispheres. We have to integrate the yin and the yang, the inner male and female. And when we do that individually, we come to a place of balance and a place of harmony and a place of non-resistance to our experiences, because we have a much broader palette of terms and understandings with which to describe our experience. But we're seeing that on the world now. And it was Kalaman who actually brought this to my attention, where he talked about the changing qualities of energies on the planet fluctuating over years, over eons really, of dominance of the West and then replaced by the dominance of the East according to different time structures, etc. And that we're now in a time structure where the East and the West on the planet are being balanced. So bringing it back to A Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles is an elegant blend of Western spirituality based on forgiveness, based on the sacredness of those who've come before us, the Christ, etc. And the psychological model, again, recognizing the primacy of mind, with the Eastern sense of the collapse of duality and the acceptance of oneness. So when you approach either one of those spiritualities in isolation, there seems to be something missing. On the Eastern side, there seems to be that personal love connection. And on the Western side, there seems to be a loss of connection with collective mind. When you bring those together, however, in a thought system that elegantly unites them, it cultivates that inner sense of the sacred union of male and female, of left and right within. And that's the feeling that we want to access daily. That is the bread of spirit, that daily bread talked about in the Bible. It is in that it's in the connecting on a regular basis with the experience of wholeness within. And it's nothing that can be fully described or conceptualized, because as soon as you do that, you're in the yang, right? But it can be known, it can be experienced. And the more you experience it, it's like watering the garden, right? The more you water the garden, everything else begins to move.
And we're down to 4 seconds. So great to have you on the show. And thank you ever so much. Bye for now.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Hey, thanks for watching right through to the end. We do appreciate you here at The Wellness Show. And to show our appreciation at this wonderful time of year, we're going to be giving away a $50 gift certificate over the next 12 episodes. And at the end of the 12 episodes, we'll be giving a $500 grand prize gift certificate that you can spend at either the Wellness Store or the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Now, how do I get in to win this? Simple. Like, share, comment, or subscribe to our channel, and then come over to our Facebook page, The Wellness Show, and let us know that you did so. While you're there, you can also comment and enter into the conversation about the current episode and have answers back from Tyhson and the people that were interviewed. So again, like, comment, share, subscribe, and tell us you did so on the Facebook page. It will enter you in to win a $50 gift certificate, 12 of those, or the $500 grand prize gift certificate to be spent at the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy or the Wellness Show.